All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Week 9 live show. I am joined here with my co-host, Zac Green, a.k.a. Big Country DFS. We are going to break down the Week 9 college football Saturday main slate for DFS purposes. Now, also, we kind of dabble in some other stuff as well. So if you want to talk, player props, you want to talk sides and totals, you want to talk underdog drafts, anything like that, let us know in the chat because, we're more than happy to talk about that stuff as well. But DFS is the main focus here, as it has been all season long. Which Zac, how crazy is it that we're in Week 9 already?
I know it doesn't. It doesn't feel like it, and pretty soon it's gonna seem like only a couple of weeks that we're gonna be doing bowl games.
Right? Oh, Lord knows I'm not ready for the bowl game slates yet. I'm not ready for that. I have gotten my teeth kicked in bowl games each of the last 2 years of just, it's one of those where I feel like I do all the research, and still there's just guys that come out of nowhere in bowl games that had never heard of. And it's like, well, why do I do all this research if
especially with all the transfer. Now you don't even know who's playing until 5 minutes before, and some guys opted out, but they're still playing. And it's just a mess now.
Yeah. So, we're Week 9 now. I know how I'm going to answer this question, but how did Week 8 go for you?
Man, it's been a long time already. Been a long week. It wasn't that I remember. I think that's right. It wasn't good because I was all aboard Bryson Washington, thought he was back and not dealing with the injury anymore. Apparently he still was, even after a bye week, and they did not report on it at all.
Yeah.
Fumbled early in the game, and then they just rotated him out the whole time.
The Big 12 injury reports are just utter garbage. These teams don't care about him. There's no kind of enforcement. I'm kind of fed up with them at this point. Just the fact that nobody's doing the right thing with these Big 12 injury reports.
And now he's 7,300, so I have to play him, but I'm not going to have 80% like I did last week.
Right. Last week for me was salvaged by betting. DFS college football was totally awful. Got my teeth kicked in. NFL DFS totally awful. I'm talking played $30 on the main slate and only got back $5 because I knew, I was even going a little lower volume because I knew I was going to be out and about and wasn't going to be able to set my lineups right before lock. Right. And so I still had Jordan Marshall on my lineups and I go to check the scores and I'm like, wow, I should be doing good. And no, I was not doing good. So, you hit a few parlays though. I had a big one on NFL Sunday. I had a 5-team spread parlay. But for whatever reason, I picked the Packers money line, and they barely pulled out that game against the Cardinals, which allowed me to hit. If I'd bet them against the spread, I would have lost it. So for whatever reason, thankfully I picked money line for that game and not spread like I did for the others. I tend to stay away from high spreads in the NFL. That's just a thing I've picked up.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let's go ahead and dive in. We've got some people in the chat. If you are watching us live, let us know. Like I said, we're here for you guys. So if you got something that you want to talk about, you got something that you want to bring up, you got something you want us to talk about, let us know in the chat. Brett, glad to have you here, my guy. Brett's been kind of a regular joining here with us every week. Darren is in with us again. And Darren, I know your North Texas Mean Green are going to beat the crap out of Charlotte tomorrow night. It's okay. We're not good. But, we're building for the future. And that's what I keep telling myself every single year. We're building for the future. So, hopefully the future will get here. And then Reeves, glad to have you in the chat, my guy. This is where the cool kids hang out. I would like to think, right? This is, I think we put on a pretty good live show, right? Brett saying Kansas State coach is awful. We're going to talk about that game quite a bit. So hang on to that thought. And then we've got Huncho in the chat. He joins us every week. Says, can we discuss Jacoby Williams? Jacoby Williams is not on the main slate because I think that is a team that has just totally mismanaged their running backs all season long. I don't understand why they use Dickey and Williams how they do. I don't understand what they're doing there.
Well, I think Williams has been dealing with a little bit of injury, which is the issue.
Which, again,
they can start they can start 4-string against my Cowboys, and they're still going to win by 50, I'm sure.
Yeah.
At least they're going to take out frustration.
We don't have to talk about Sam Jackson on this slate.
Yeah. I don't even, you can't tell me there's not a single guy on that roster that can play quarterback better than him. I mean,
So here's the thing, though, that I saw some other shows last week that people were victory lapping, like, see, I told you guys not to play Sam Jackson. And it's like, y'all are totally missing the point. Like, you're playing the outcome there. Like, a 3K starting quarterback, sign me up. Like, I need no more details. 3K quarterback, sign me up. And people that are victory lapping are just victory lapping the result, not the actual play itself. So, yeah. So Darren says, if you had to play one Charlotte player tomorrow, it is. I would go with one of the receivers, either EJ Mason or Javen Nicholas. I'm actually going to be recording my Friday night show literally once we get out of here. So I'm going to have some more thoughts on that. So if you want some thoughts on the Friday night show, make sure you go check that out. I'm a little late recording this week because it's been just an insane week. And you know, I know we all have these. So I'm trying to keep up best I can. But yeah, insane week.
I would say not play any of them if you can avoid it.
Yeah, I wouldn't fault anybody for avoiding Charlotte. Like they're just,
but yeah, I mean, EJ Mason is their leading receiver, but you also have Tron Grizzle from Cal, who he's on like the top 5 of targets on the slate, and he's cheaper. So I mean, there's really no reason to.
Yeah.
These guys
generally speaking, I think you'd be better off in your DFS portfolio if you weren't playing a team that was 26-point underdogs every single week. So, all right. So let's go ahead. We're 6 minutes in. I think we gave plenty of people time to join the live, right? Go ahead and hop in the chat. Let's go ahead and start talking about the slate. Now, Zach, I know we do this every week. I got to figure out all the buttons to kind of hit here. So you tell the people where they can find this sheet that is about to be up on my screen.
All right. So I posted on Twitter at Big Country DFS, also on the Big Country DFS Discord and the Fantasy Quarter Discord. So, and all of us are in both of those Discords, so you can ask questions on either one of them, and we get to it when we can. We're both teachers, so it's kind of hard during the day, but
yeah,
we can. Usually, I'm there Saturday mornings, pretty much hanging out. So
this week has been observation week for me. So I was observed today. So like normally the time where I'm telling kids like, hey, y'all work on this, I'm going to be at my desk where I can actually like get caught up on everything and do research and everything. Haven't had that time because I want to look like I'm an active teacher, right? That's not saying that I'm like a bad teacher, a teacher that neglects his job, but just a little extra eyes. I mean, you got to put a little extra attention out there, right? So yeah, eventful week for me. Anyway, let's talk about this Saturday slate, Zach. So I see you got the stacks, the yes, maybe, no in here. I think this is a slate where I am going to have a very narrow player pool, but I think there's some games in here that could totally take off, and I'm going to make sure I go out of my way to build at least one stack of that game, right? And the first one I want to talk about is Kansas State. I see you've got it listed as a maybe, Zach. Well, what's your interest level in that game?
Yeah, so I'm actually probably going to change that to a yes, because Kansas, they can't stop anybody. I mean, we saw that with Texas Tech last time out.
In Cincinnati about a month ago as well.
Yeah, and Kansas State, they just haven't looked great. I mean, they look good against TCU, but they still let McAllister and Hoover get there late, and then they give up 35 to Baylor. I mean, they even gave up to 20 to UCF. So, and those rivalry games, they usually play a little bit harder, and everybody goes full, and so that's just kind of where we've been all year. We've been talking about it, and it's basically stack the Big 12, and you're going to win money. So
yeah, and I personally think with this one too, this is like the type of offenses that I like stacking against each other, right? Because you've got two dual threat quarterbacks. The running back rooms for both of these teams have kind of been disappointing this season. And you also have super condensed target trees in the receiving core. So like it's a very clear scenario where like, hey, if this game takes off, Daniels is going to put up a ton, Avery Johnson is going to put up a ton, and he's likely going to be throwing to Emmanuel Henderson on the Kansas side, Jace Brown, maybe a few other supporting characters on the Kansas State side. So I think it's just a solid game to stack, and I could totally see this taking off because I think that these are worse defenses than offenses in this game.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And Brett says something about Jace Brown. I don't know if you have a link. That'd be great because I haven't seen anything on him dealing with any kind of injury.
I did my show for the Saturday slate last night, and I didn't see anything on him when I did my research then. So that might be new. Nothing would surprise me anymore. Like we said, college football injury reporting not the best. Especially in the Big 12. So nothing would shock me. Definitely, something to look out for. And Darren, I do believe, I see Zach put in the chat, it is the Sunflower Showdown. What a name. What a name for a rivalry. I love named football games. So nice little game there. So there's another game I see you got a yes here for, Zach, that I do want to talk about. Auburn and Arkansas. So on paper, the Auburn defense has been pretty good. On paper, that the unders in Auburn games have been pretty good. But also on the other side, you've got an Arkansas defense where the overs have been just printing money and the defense has been truly terrible. So, this is a battle of what's the opposite of like, the phrase like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, right? Is this like a very movable object meeting a very stoppable force? Like, is this going to produce a lot of points or not a lot of points?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of points. So we've seen it every single week with Arkansas. They have the offense. They have the talent there on the offense. They don't on the defense. We're looking at 87 points last week, 65 the week before, 69 against Notre Dame, even though they got smoked, 63 against Memphis, 76 against Ole Miss, 70 against Arkansas State, and then 59 against Alabama A&M. So every single
Arkansas
game.
is not a Big 12 team. Every single game, it just sounds like a Big 12 stat line.
Yeah, and that's the thing is their offense is talented enough to put up points. We saw it last week with A&M.
Yeah, and what I like about it too, especially from the Auburn side, Auburn's a very targetable offense on this slate. Now, granted, the counterpoint might be like, well, we don't know who's going to start at quarterback. We don't know if they're going to split snaps, whatever. They run the ball with one guy. They throw the ball to two guys. If you don't like the quarterback, don't play the quarterback. Play the one running back and the two wide receivers, and they can get there. So I do think that is one that I am going to make sure I have a stack with. Now, getting caught up in the chat, Myron says having rivalry games in the middle of the season is stupid. So I've got a nuanced take on this, being a Texas fan. I think it's absolutely dope that they do the Red River Shootout in the middle of the Texas State Fair, and like that traditional spot is pretty cool. Same with like Alabama and Tennessee, the third Saturday in October. Having them like in that spot of the schedule every year is pretty cool. But I do agree that there's something special about that Thanksgiving weekend with every single big rivalry game being played. There's something that just hits different that weekend. So I don't totally disagree with you on that, but I do think there's some pretty cool ones in the middle of the year. I know your team, Zach. Bedlam's not a thing anymore, is it?
No, they haven't had it for a couple of years now.
Yeah, that's just terrible. And yeah, we got some talking about Taylon Green. Taylon Green has been great. We're certainly going to be talking about him later up here in a second. Darren says Bobby Petrino, definitely a Big 12 coach. I don't know what conference would be more befitting of the neck brace. You remember the neck brace incident with Bobby Petrino?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was utterly hysterical when that happened. Brett says, any word if Darrell Robinson is back this week for Auburn? All indications I've seen is that he's out. Haven't seen anything that he's going to be back in.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. And then there was a comment about the weather. That obviously didn't matter at all last week. So
right.
And they had a lot worse, like they had severe storms and everything. This is just supposed to be, tropical. It's the tropical system coming across because we're fixing to get it tonight and tomorrow. And then it's going to go over to Arkansas. But it's not going to be any lightning delays and junk like that. It's just going to be some light rain. And somebody posted it in the chat last week. The drainage system they have there is really, really good. So.
So that is the Auburn-Arkansas game. I'm trying to remember. I think I had two more in my notes that I wanted to talk about. There's one that everybody's going to be on in the 3:30 window. Cincinnati, Baylor. I see we got the yes right here, Zach, and I know we're both going to be on it. Neither of these teams stopped the pass very well at all, especially Baylor, particularly with the weakness to mobile quarterbacks. I think that's a really soft spot, and I think that both these teams are going to be really stackable here on this slate.
Yeah, just one note real quick. I pulled up the SEC availability report, and Darrell Robinson is listed as out on today's report. So
that's good.
There you go. Cobb's going to be a core, by the way, when we're talking about that in a minute. But Cincinnati, their stats look somewhat decent on paper on defense, but they're not really. I mean, we remember, several weeks ago, Rocco Beck, nobody was playing him. We said fire him up, and he had like 5X at halftime. So, and then Cincinnati, Sorsby's been playing out of his mind. I don't see how you don't play him as QB1 in your cash games.
Sorsby is like low-key a Big 12 Player of the Year contender right now. Like, Cincinnati's unbeaten in the conference. He's playing great. He's putting up numbers, not turning the ball over. Like, he's playing really well. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about it.
Yeah.
All right, so that does it for the game environments, right? Like I was talking about in my show, I think there's a lot of games on here with high-ish totals that have paths to failure, but I think we're kind of in lockstep agreement on like not stacking them, like Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Virginia versus North Carolina, Vanderbilt versus Missouri. Like, those are all totals over 50, but I just see paths to failure, and that really does make this Saturday slate kind of an ugly one because I think there's a lot of games that could be going under here this slate.
Yeah, I mean, Texas, we saw it last week. You didn't need to play anybody in their game against Kentucky. Probably same thing here. But as we're going to talk about in a minute, there is a guy that's looking pretty chalky, and it's literally just because of the price.
Oh, yeah.
And then Iowa State, they're just a slow offense. I do like Beck, but, I mean, there's really no reason to play him when you have, like, Bear Bachmeier for 800 less, and you have Jalen Daniels for a little bit more. And so some of these low totals, there's just no point in messing with. And it helps you reduce your player pool to kind of just fine-tune it and stuff.
So that's a great natural transition, talking about playing Rocco Beck versus playing some of these other guys, right? So let's talk about quarterbacks. I want to do it kind of differently this week than we usually do. I think this is a particularly good slate at quarterback. Like, I think the top plays are really, really solid at quarterback. I think there's a lot of bad plays at quarterback as well. So let's kind of switch things up here, how we're doing it this week. Price tag, not a factor. Who is going to end as the highest scoring QB on this slate? And if you're in the chat, put it in the chat. Let us know. Let's see who's right about this. Who is going to be the highest scoring QB on this slate, regardless of price tag? And I know it kind of sprung that question on you, Zach. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start on that one?
Yeah, you might go ahead and start if you got an idea already.
Okay. So my idea for this one, and it might be considered the chalky one because he is one of the slate's most expensives. I love Byron Brown this week. I think that we're just looking at, and Myron's in agreement with you. That's good. I'm going Byron Brown. I just think that the matchup against Memphis is great. Memphis defense, not too great, just not very good. I believe they're like 95th against the pass. I talked about on my show. And Byron Brown in conference play is being used as a runner. We saw this 2 years ago when he was the first-year starter in Golesh's system. They were using him as a runner. He was unleashed. Last season, he was hurt. Everybody kind of forgot about how he was used, and now he's back to being that guy. And South Florida really doesn't have a great run game, so they're going to have to put up points through the air. I just think that there's a huge, huge ceiling for Byron Brown. I think he's the most likely guy to finish this slate as QB1.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but me personally, I don't like him. I mean, I never do like any slate he's on. And this is a game, if we're talking about Brendan Lewis, if he doesn't go, that Memphis offense could just look like a mess. Like,
yeah.
So it could be kind of like we talked about with King. If they start blowing out, then that's going to limit his ceiling.
The only counter argument I would say to that, though, is like South Florida with Golesh is a much different offensive philosophy than Georgia Tech with Brent Key. Mainly because I watched it against Charlotte, right? Like, they had the pedal to the metal. They were still being super aggressive as long as the starters were in there. And even though they blew out Charlotte, Byron Brown did get there because he got home with his rushing. Whereas Georgia Tech, if they're up in the second half, they're just going to turtle up, right? They're going to play very slow. That is not what Golesh does. Golesh is going to continue to be aggressive and try to score points. So for that reason, I kind of like Brown more than King, if that makes sense.
Yeah, No, I agree with that. I don't love King
Mhm.
either. Uh, I have to remember we're talking about price doesn't matter here
Yeah,
because
exactly.
with the price, I don't love him because of the price. But I'm going to actually go and agree with Darren on this one and say Mendoza because I think the UCLA, this whole fantasy 3 games, I think it's finally going to come to an end this weekend against the buzzsaw of Indiana. And the thing with Mendoza is he hasn't had a rushing touchdown since the Indiana State game. And when he did
Mhm.
get that rushing touchdown, he had almost 40 DK. So I think we're going to see some positive TD regression here on the rushing end for him. And he's been tossing, 4 or 5 touchdowns a game passing wise. And he's got stud receivers. With Brown, the argument there is Nimrod is hurt, questionable. That's his top option there.
Mhm.
And it's not like, Indiana has Surratt and Cooper. Both of those guys would start on UCF, no doubt, as the number one. So
Oh,
I
they're
think there's
both great.
just, yeah, I think there's just better weapons for Mendoza. And again, like with UCF, they're not going to be worried about blowouts.
No, and I think Indiana, like we've seen in the Signetti era too, kind of like what we were talking about with Golish, is like Signetti likes to run it up on teams. Like they're not going to turtle up in the second half and just, start turning into a handoff machine. Like, nah, he's going to continue to be aggressive. When you're making these college football playoff runs, you kind of have to think about your computer numbers, your advanced analytics. And one way you can kind of trick those computers is by continuing to run it up. I've kind of talked about Notre Dame doing this, but Indiana's going to do it as well. So definitely, I do like the upside with Mendoza. I do like that call. So is there anybody else that I think could kind of be close to those two? Because I think we kind of got the top two. I really like the ceiling for Sawyer Robertson, even though he gives you virtually no rushing upside. He's going up against a Cincinnati team that allowed Jalen Daniels to throw for over 400 yards. And Baylor's a team that's going to run an up-tempo offense. We don't know what the health of Bryson Washington is. Apparently, he's going to be available, but that doesn't mean he's going to be 100%. And so if Baylor can't run the ball, and it's just going to turn into Sawyer Robertson dropping back 60 times against this Cincinnati defense, I really think that Robertson's got a ton of upside. I don't think he necessarily has the floor that a lot of these other guys have because, again, he's not a runner. This is certainly a situation where, if Baylor can't run, we're just going to drop everybody into coverage, right? There's certainly a path to failure, but I do think that Robertson does have a pretty big ceiling.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Taylor Green also is another one that's Auburn. I would say might be a slightly better defense than Texas A&M at this point.
I would agree with that.
But still, he's a good quarterback. And so basically, all of those guys, actually, it might be something that people are going to disagree with, but I actually kind of like all of those guys we mentioned more than I do with King.
So that's a great point because it looks like the chalk high-priced quarterback on Saturday is going to be Haynes King. And I'm surprised nobody in the chat mentioned him because I feel like he's getting a lot of steam. There's other people talking about him. I don't think this is the best spot for him. Like when you just look at his game log, right? He's at his best in these games that go back and forth, or these games where it's a one possession game or where they're trailing. He's not at his best in games that they win handily. And he's certainly not his best in games where they're going to lose, which obviously they haven't lost yet this year. But I feel like he needs Syracuse to push the game environment. And Syracuse has given us no indication with Ricky Collins at quarterback that they can push this game environment. And so I'm certainly going to be under the field on Haynes King. I don't know if he's going to end up making my pool because, again, there's a lot of quarterbacks that I like kind of in this 8-9K range. And I think I like them more than I like Haynes King. Are we in alignment on that, Zach?
Yeah, I agree. Same thing. Georgia Tech's one of the slower teams on the slate. If they don't have to, they're not going to air it out with him. He's not a good passer anyways.
It's not why he's there. Yeah.
And he has scored a rushing TD or more in every single game. And just as we talk about, positive TD regression coming, you can also go on the other end of that and talk about negative TD regression coming because Haynes King, because Jamal Haynes, you get them mixed up because they have the same name.
Yeah.
He can vulture TDs. And so I actually like the idea of playing Jamal Haynes in some lineups because he's due for a big game eventually.
It's not a bad pivot. Now that he is seeing a little bit more of a carry split, but we
Yeah,
have seen
that using that
Haynes.
Halsey dude or whatever.
Yeah, the thing is with Haynes is like he doesn't need but 10 carries. If he rips off 2 explosives for touchdowns, there you go, right? So that's kind of one where the volume doesn't concern me as much. Darren, you're 100% right. Black Suit, 100% right. Last week we were all over Haynes King. We were really playing with fire there. It really looked like it was going to be a bad play until all of a sudden it wasn't. But also that game was really weird because you had Georgia Tech with the long defensive touchdown. Like if Haynes King gets a normal offensive drive, instead of a defensive touchdown, his total could have looked totally different also. So, these games always have a wide range of outcomes that you got to consider.
Yeah, he's still going to be chalk though, Darren.
For sure.
I know a lot of people, all of us were stressing in the chat, but he's already, like, RG has him as the highest projected raw points on the slate. So people are just going to fire that up because we know how a lot of people are. They don't even look at matchups. They don't look at it. All they do is get on their site, RG, whatever site they use, and they just plug in the opto line and maybe make 1 or 2 changes, or lock some guys they like and then just fill out the rest.
Yeah, DFS Hero, which is the optimizer that I use, they haven't projected for about 31, which seems really, really high to me.
Yeah, he's only done that in half the games.
Yeah.
But how do you project a guy to eclipse a total that he's only done in 3 of the 6 games?
And if the counter argument would be, oh, look, the Syracuse secondary is really bad. Well, that's not how Haynes King will take advantage of them. You'd rather have Haynes King in a game where he's going to run. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm not there on the chalk on that this week. But I will say there are 2 lower price quarterbacks. I will say below 7,500, totally non-arbitrary price I selected there. 2 quarterbacks below 7,500 that I love this week, and I am currently debating on which one of them is going to be my core play. Zach, do you know who I'm talking about?
I know for sure one is Brennan Sorsby.
Yep.
And then
I'm a Sorsby guy. I can't help myself on this one.
I'm hoping the other is the same guy that is mine, which is Bear Bachmeier.
Okay, so you actually got 2 for 2 on that one.
Yeah.
How about you give me the sell on Bachmeier? Because I think he's a great points per dollar option here this week.
Okay, so Bachmeier is one of those guys. I feel like DraftKings always sleeps on these West Coast teams, except for like UCLA, USC. It's like those are the only 2 teams that they agree exist beyond the Rockies. And he has put up 23, 31, 29, 25, 22, a little stinker against Stanford, but they didn't need him. They were up 27-3. Mm-hmm. He had 13.7 and then 31. So he's averaging 25 DraftKings points a game at only 6,300. And that's about almost 4x. There's only 2 other guys that are even close on point per dollar average. And one of them's the other guy we're talking about, Sorsby, at 4.09. And then the other one is Taylor Green at 4.14. So if you're talking about strictly points per dollar based on their DK averages to find out if they're mispriced, it's those 3 guys right there.
So another thing, Iowa State struggles against mobile quarterbacks. As you were talking, I looked it up. Caden Salter put up about 27. Brendan Sorsby put up about 29. So you've got a team, and Avery Johnson put up 27 as well. So you've got a team that historically struggles with this type of player with that price tag. Like that just, to me, just screams, just play the guy. And I don't even think you need to stack him. I don't think you need to stack the game. You can just play Bachmeier 6,300, get on with the rest of your day. Like it's not that complicated.
Yeah, I did the same thing last week. Literally on the night slate, everybody was Dampier. And then I said, play Bachmeier 500 cheaper. And I don't know if he ended up outscoring. I know it was close. But either way, I mean, he's got the rushing and passing ability. They do prefer to run him more, kind of like King. But the thing is, like, he's averaging 25 DraftKings points a game. King is averaging 31. It's only 6 points difference for $2,300 less.
Yeah, and just the price tag, like you said, it just seems it seems too easy. It seems too easy. And sometimes this is a game where you don't want to complicate things.
Yeah. And that's that's the thing, not complicating things. That's what I'm going to do with Brennan Sorsby at that price.
Yeah, great little segue there. Sorsby taking on Baylor. Baylor being a bad defense. Baylor literally letting Jackson Arnold run for over 100 yards on them. Baylor letting Josh Hoover light him up last week. Just the Baylor, Kevin Jennings, I believe, lit him up earlier in the season, right? Like they just continue to let quarterbacks just have their way with the defense. And Sorsby is a guy that can do it with his legs, with his arm, in an up-tempo environment because both these teams are going to go fast. I just think that that's another one where you don't need to overcomplicate it. Now, the weird thing about this slate, because I started building a little bit earlier, Zach, and I don't know if you've had this issue or not, I almost don't like my Sorsby and Bear lineups together because I don't really like having to spend up at the other positions. It's weird. I almost prefer to play one expensive quarterback and one cheaper quarterback.
Yeah, because I was playing around with that earlier. Now, I do like getting some Surratt, and I like Joe Jackson for expensive running back. But yeah, there's really not a lot. I mean, there's only two guys that are on receiver that are even above 7,000.
Right, like there's no Jeremiah Love, there's no Jeremiah Smith, there's not even like a Justice Haynes or a Jonah Coleman on this slate where it's like, there's a running back that's 8K that I know is going to give me 25 plus points. Like there's not guys like that on this slate. And so going double spend down at quarterback just feels weird to me, but I definitely like both the options down there. And I see Darren in the chat. I don't mind Nico, but man, going up against Indiana, that's a tall task. And maybe just playing Nico in a GPP where he's going to be 1% owned and everybody else is playing Bear and Sorsby. Maybe you get a big game and maybe it works out. It's definitely a tall task going against Indiana. From what I've seen against Indiana, I don't want to play anybody against them. That team is a buzzsaw right now.
Yeah, and I don't know what. He only had 12 points in a game they won last week against Maryland. Indiana's a lot better defense than Maryland, and that was at home too. I'm just not buying this whole UCLA's back. I mean, Michigan State's a terrible team. And then Chili's or whatever his name is got hurt, and then Maryland's. I mean, they're not much better really. And Penn State, as we all know, they're just utter garbage this year. I mean,
they're punting on the season.
Yeah. The game right before that, UCLA lost to Northwestern. So, I mean,
who is also surging though. Northwestern might get to a bowl game, believe it or not. That's crazy. It says Aranda dead man walking. Dude, the coaching carousel this offseason is going to be bonkers. Like there's so many schools that are going to fire their coach. I think that Baylor can still salvage things. It would have to start this week. They can still salvage things. They have a few good wins this year already, but yeah, they definitely could fire Aranda. It would not shock me. You're supposed to be a defensive coach, and this is the defense you're putting out on the field. Like that's kind of a bad look.
Yeah, they're just not good on defense this year.
All right, so let's transition now to talking about running backs. We kind of mentioned it already, but like this is not the best spend up slate at running back. I really don't see a whole lot near the top of the board that I'm a whole lot interested in at the running back position. Zach, is there anybody that really kind of has your eye at the top at running back?
So, LJ Martin's he's been a workhorse, and so I always love playing workhorses. I might get some exposure. But the strength of the Iowa State defense is the run defense. Des Roziers, I like him, but I don't like paying $7,600 for
a committee
own split. Yes.
Yeah.
But I know that he's getting steamed up because people are assuming that Lewis is going to be out, and so they just assume they're going to lean on the running backs in the receiving game. Hardy, I've kind of liked him, but he's kind of cooled off these last couple games, and Vanderbilt's been solid on defense. Washington, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have exposure, but we can't trust it right now to have anything more than like 20%. And then you have the Bama running back, Bama and Lacey and Wisner. Yeah, all of those guys in those ugly totals. So there is one guy from 7,000 above, Joe Jackson, that I like. We already got word early, thankfully, that Dylan Edwards is again out. And then they finally seem to have unleashed him. He had 27 carries last week for 110 yards. And then we're getting another juicy matchup here as we saw what Cameron Dickey did to Kansas last week. So I'm going to fire him up with confidence. I know people are going to say, I've already seen it in some write-ups, well, his price is $7,000 and it was $4,100 last week. But you're looking at the slate that we've been talking about. They have to physically manually price these guys up because of the lack of studs on the slate.
That was going to be my point, is like Joe Jackson doesn't feel like a $7,000 running back, but also who else on this slate would be? Like, this is just not the best running back slate. I like your call on Washington. Like, if he is healthy, it's a great spot for him, but I'm not going to put a lot of my hard-earned cash on him at that price tag at what I don't know for the health. And then the other point I would make is I do like LJ Martin, but I'm not going to play him and Bear together. I started really thinking about the math, right? Where if you play Bear and Martin together, that is literally $14K, right? Like it's like 14-1. We'll just say it's $14K. So you would need about 56 fantasy points between the two of them to get like a GPP viable pace, right? Like 4X. So I just fail to see a scenario when you start doing the math on how much yards it would and touchdowns it would require for both of them. You would need 100-yard rushing bonuses from both of them, or you would need like a touchdown that they both share where Bear throws it to Martin. So like if I'm playing a lot of Bear, I'm probably not playing a lot of Martin because I don't think it makes sense to play them both together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Anytime I have mobile quarterbacks, I don't love playing them together with running backs. The situations I like to play quarterbacks with running backs is those running backs that are going to get like 7-8 catches a game.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin is not going to be that guy for you.
No. They don't throw to the running back at BYU.
No.
They barely throw to anybody at BYU, honestly. Like the receiver position at BYU isn't all that great either. Anyway,
and I see Darren in the chat talking about Highshaw. I'm not doing that again. And also, LaShawn Williams is actually now questionable. He's not ruled out this week. So there's a chance he could be back. And I mean, Highshaw's only had 10 carries in the last 2 games combined.
If we got news that LaShawn was out, maybe. But I want no part of that backfield if they're both healthy. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, it's just a mess there.
Now, I do like Darren's call of Jamari Taylor, though.
Yeah, I just built a lineup that ended up with a perfect amount for him.
Yeah.
That I think is nice looking cash lineup. So.
Mm-hmm. And now the weird thing about Carolina is they're kind of a pass funnel, but like at the same time, they're going to give you these checkdowns. Adam Randall, if I'm not mistaken, had a really good pass catching day against them.
Yeah, so, he had like 4 for 70-something and 2 TDs.
Yeah.
Kendrick Raphael, I liked him last week. He had 22 carries for 81 and touchdown and a couple catches. So,
yeah, I think that the UNC spot, I think that's pretty good for Taylor. I really do. Now, let's talk about this. So we talked about the spend ups, right? So let's go under 6K. I think I know exactly where you're going with this because we talked about this guy earlier. Is there like one guy under 6K that particularly jumps out at you? Because I have one, and I am going to struggle to find a second.
Yeah, it's probably the same guy we're talking about, and I just fixed it as people sell on the sheet because if you don't know, my dad and some others help, and sometimes when we're rushed, busy week, just getting these guys listed, we're going off of projections and only projections. And so not taking into account some other things. But Jeremiah Cobb, so Damari Alston is no longer on the team. And he was getting, 6 to 8 carries a game, which is just that many less for him. And then Darrell Robinson, we already talked about, is out. And as we know, this Arkansas defense is just not good. They're going to give up points, and it doesn't matter if you're the running back, the quarterback, the receiver, tight end. I mean, let's see. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different guys score touchdowns. A&M did. So,
yeah, I have I have not written my weekly article for DrOdo.com yet. I have not written my core plays up yet, but I'm just little sneak preview, little spoiler alert. Jeremiah Cobb's going to be the running back. I just think this price tag, this carry share with an offense that I think the uncertainty at quarterback helps him a little bit. I really do. Because, if you're playing two quarterbacks, why would you not just run the ball more? So I think that it's a great spot against that defense. Just a great spot, man. And if that spot fails, then I'll live with it. We talk about in DFS all the time. Like, you got to be willing to fail almost, or willing to know, hey, I'm willing to live with this guy beating me if I play him, willing to live with this guy beating me if I fade him. If I'm not playing a guy in this situation, I just don't think I'm doing a good job. Like Jeremiah Cobb, prime spot this week.
Yeah, that's one of those that I'm not really going to think twice about and just hope that he doesn't get hurt or something. Because Mizzou, if you don't know, they've been holding people to under 75 yards rushing a game, and he just rushed for over 100 yards.
They were really good run defense at Mizzou.
Yeah, and now you have and he had some great runs too. I watched the end of that game, some long runs too. And now you have Arkansas, and Owens only had 14 carries, but he had 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, which is way more than enough at this price.
I'm sorry. I think I just caught the tail end of a pick 6 in the Thursday night football game. No, they're waving it off. But yeah, you're right. Like, Missouri is a really good run defense, and Cobb tore them up. There's no reason he can't do the same against a bad run defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things and it's different than, like the LaShawn Williams and the Highshaw whenever one of the other ones has been out, because those guys haven't really produced regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a different situation where this guy's been producing. And now the one guy that was stealing a little bit of carries, which not to say that Arnold can't steal some carries too, but Arkansas is used to they have their own mobile quarterback, so they kind of know how to handle those guys to keep them in the pocket, and that's going to open up the running game.
Now, I do like Darren's comment here. Says, I wish Indiana would morph all their running backs into one running back. Yeah, if you could just play Indiana RBs on DraftKings, like price them at $10K or whatever, I'd sign me up for that, because I feel like there's going to be probably 30 combined DraftKings points from them, but good luck figuring out the distribution of the points and if any of them gives you enough to be GPP viable. We were kind of joking about this the other night with the Tuesday night game with Western Kentucky. Like, hey, if you could just play Western Kentucky quarterback, whether it ends up being McIver or Tisdale, it was going to be in a great spot, right? And, it ended up being Tisdale. And there were a lot of people that played McIver that were out of the money because it ended up being Tisdale, even though if McIver played, it would have been a great play, right? It's not that dissimilar to how I feel about Indiana running back.
Yeah, and like we're talking about, this slate is kind of ugly. So, I mean, like, Desroziers, Jackson, Taylor, Cobb, Martin, Washington. I mean, I'm not really going to have a lot of running backs, although I will say with Cincinnati, same thing, running back by committee, but you could throw in it on your lines that you don't have Sorsby. You could throw in Pryor. You could throw in Tyree Walker.
I love Pryor as a pivot. Walker is the guy that's going to get the volume. We know this, but Pryor is the home run hitter. If Pryor can rip off 2 long runs, at least one of them for a touchdown, and, maybe Sorsby doesn't go off, like, that could be a really good pivot to play Pryor at running back. I believe that about does it for the running back position, though, Zach. You got anybody else? Because I'm out. I'm totally out. Yeah, this is not my favorite running back slate.
I briefly went over those high-priced guys, that I wanted exposure to. Davin Booth's down there, but same thing. You're banking on touchdowns with the Mississippi State running backs, and I don't know honestly that they're going to score a whole lot of points. Texas has been they've only allowed 19 total points in the last 2 SEC games.
So if you look up perfect segue in the dictionary, there's you just had one, right? Because wide receivers, the chalk wide receiver of the slate is shaping up to be Brendan Thompson at $3,700. From what I'm looking at DFS Hero with his projection and his ownership, he looks like he's going to be super popular. But I got to be honest with you, I am completely out on a high-owned Brendan Thompson taking on Texas. Are you with me, or are you going to eat the chalk there?
No, I was leaning towards wanting to have him, but I think I'm going to be out now that he's chalk because Texas has pretty much shut down everybody.
Yeah, everybody, and I'm a resident Texas fan. Call me a homer, whatever. Everybody is hating on Arch Manning and focusing on the Texas offense. They're forgetting how good that Texas defense has been. They're one of the best defenses in the country. They're one of the best secondaries in the country. And I wish I had like quick access to this, but I can't recall any receiver scoring more than about 15 DraftKings points against them, which was what I believe Carnell Tate got in week 1. You're not seeing these big totals from wide receivers against this team. Oh, actually, I just thought of one. Do you know what receiver went off against them?
It was the guy from Florida, but it was his first game of the season. So they had
Dallas Wilson in his debut going off for 2 deep touchdowns against them. So that was kind of an anomaly. Whereas Brendan Thompson, they played him every year because he's been at Oklahoma and now Mississippi State. So I just don't. I'm not getting behind a guy who's $3,700 chalk going up against that defense. That's my personal point of view.
Yeah, I'm not going to be playing him either.
So now, I'm not really seeing anybody else that's like shaping up to be massive chalk. I think Satania might be popular again. We were both off of him last week, and he ended up being pretty good. Like, I don't think he won you all the money if you played him. I don't think he killed you if you faded him. But now he's up at $5,600, and I'm curious to see if people are going to go back to him or not.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see that too. But like we talked about, when there's only a couple of receivers over 7,000, everybody's going to see a price jump because know they have to spread it evenly, and so yeah, from what I'm looking at, he's actually third on the receivers point per dollar. So I'm sure people are going to be playing him again.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, one of the top receivers in price tag is showing up as one of the top receivers in value for me. It's Elijah Surratt. He's up there at $7,600. Now, like we've been saying, these price tags are a little inflated, right? But do you think that UCLA is a good spot to play Elijah Surratt? Because I do.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaging 23 points a game. Only this 73-0 blowout and that Old Dominion game where they just look like utter garbage for half the game are the only 2 games he's been under 23 DraftKings points. He's just always been a target machine. And honestly, it's easy to fit him. I just fit him in, and I fit the core guys that I have, Sorsby, Jackson, Cobb, and I fit Jamari Taylor, and I fit Surratt, and I still feel comfortable. I even got a Baylor receiver in there. So I feel confident that I'm going to have a lot of Surratt.
Yeah,
but I also like Cooper too.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea either. Especially like we talked about earlier, like if you like these cheap quarterbacks like Bachmeier and Sorsby, it makes it super easy to get to Surratt. Super easy to get to him. Just like you can just go ahead and like if you're saying you're going to play Sorsby and Bachmeier, just go ahead and put Surratt in there too, because I don't see any other way you're going to spend all your salary, honestly.
Yeah, it's
now
easy to get
from there. You did mention that you had a Baylor receiver in your lineup. You mind me asking which one?
Josh Cameron.
I like Cameron as well.
Yeah, he is the number 1 receiver. A lot of people forget that, and they've been chasing Trigg because he got the like 13 targets or whatever. But Cameron hasn't had a touchdown since the Samford game. But he's still been 10 points or more every game, and he had 8 for 86 last week. It seems like they're finally leaning on him, especially with Washington, whatever he's dealing with these last couple games. And there's really no reason, in my opinion. We've seen all these other guys get the price bump, and he actually got a price decrease. And so
that part doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah.
And the thing is with Trigg too, like it's real easy to like look at the math and be like, hey, Trigg's getting the most targets. But when you look at what it's actually turning into, Trigg's not breaking any slates. Like he's not giving you like 25 plus, 30 plus DraftKings points, whereas Cameron absolutely has that upside. So Cameron is the guy that I would be looking for.
Yeah, I'm not playing Trig at 6,100. I didn't play him last week. I'm not playing him again. There's just no reason to for that. Whenever there's another tight end in the same game for a significantly less price.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about him in just a second. So there's a few more that I do want to talk about. So we talked about a few of the mobile quarterbacks on the slate, right? So here, let's kind of play a little game here. Say you're playing Byron Brown. Do you need to stack him with Singleton or Koger or even Nimrod, or do you want to play him unstacked?
So if I play Brown, I probably would, like, especially for cash. For cash, I would just play him unstacked because there's too many other receivers I want to get to. For GPP, obviously, I don't mind stacking. If we got news that Nimrod was out, I think Koger becomes a very popular play, unfortunately.
Could not agree more.
Because the price is just nice, and he's got a touchdown in every game basically since he's come back. And the volume that he's going to see if Nimrod's out.
I tend to be a loyal person, right? Koger playing him on the Friday night slate last Friday, or maybe 2 Fridays ago at this point, won me all the money, right? He was $3K, and he had scored a touchdown against Charlotte the week before, and I fired him up against North Texas, and it was like, boom, like this makes sense. He was $3K, nobody played him, and won me all the money. So I'm going to have loyalty to my guy Koger if Nimrod does continue to be out. To me, that just makes a lot of sense. But like you said, if you're playing cash, I wouldn't do it. If you're playing GPPs, he's going to be a guy that can give you a ton of upside. Now, the next mobile quarterback, I don't know if we specifically talked about this guy or not, but would you stack Avery Johnson with Brown or Tibbs, or would you just leave Johnson unstacked? Or even better, do you like one of those guys without being stacked with Johnson?
Yeah, so since I'm pretty high on Jackson, I'm probably not going to if we're talking about the lineups that I don't have Jackson, I love Jace Brown. I need to figure out whatever's going on because I looked at Twitter. I did not see anything with his name mentioning anything close to a injury. So, but as we talked about, yeah, the Big 12 is crazy. If Brown were to miss, Tibbs is too cheap there.
Totally agree.
To get a guy with Johnson, but Johnson's another guy. I don't mind playing him naked as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think that almost oh no, we got a few more. BYU. We love Bear. Do we love his receivers? Because I don't. I got to be honest. I really, really don't like the BYU wide receivers.
So for me, it's hard because Kingston's been playing so well, but also eventually Roberts is going to be the guy too. So I don't know. I haven't decided yet on that. But with Bear, like again, there's plenty of receivers that we've been talking about. Cameron, Surratt, some of these other guys. And so you don't really have to go there.
Yeah, I just like none of them command a ton of targets. None of them give you like these big time performances. Myron just hit the nail on the head right there. They don't give you GPP winning scores, right? And if you're going to be playing Bear, you're going to want to pair a guy with him that can give you a big time score, and they haven't been it. And so it just makes me not want to play those two guys.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those, they're kind of decent for cash, but like with GPPs, especially lately, you want those receivers that are going to get 10 targets, several yards, and at least 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. And now the last quarterback situation going to talk about Cincinnati. I think we both like Sorsby. We're in agreement on that. I think Sorsby has a few guys that you can stack with here. Now, granted, I don't think I would double stack him. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to support 2-3 receivers in the same game. But do you like Allen? Do you like Royer? Do you like somebody else from the Cincinnati offense?
Yeah, so my favorite actually is Royer. So that's kind of a segue to the I went ahead and wrote it up, so we've already talked about this being a cake matchup. Royer, he's been 10 plus DraftKings points in 5 of the 7 games. And that's a great floor for cash, even for GPP at this price. But he always has 2 touchdown upside. And he's exploded the last few games. The last 3 games, Baylor's allowed a touchdown to every single tight end they've played. Rodgers had 4 for 30 and a touchdown. Oakley had 7 for 54 and a touchdown. And then Josh Ford, who's no longer even on the team anymore after Gundy got fired for this horrible offense when Zane Flores was the quarterback, had a touchdown at 26 yards. Shimon Mateer had 6 for 55. So Baylor is giving up an average of 4.5 catches and 41 yards and 3/4 of a touchdown per game to the tight end, which is basically that 10-point average that you want for this price.
Yeah, and that price tag for that like level of consistency with that matchup, that's a pretty doggone good spot. I would have no problem with playing Cyrus Allen as well. I think that's a pretty reasonable price tag for a guy who's shown the upside that he has. But I do think I'm going to have some Sorsby and Royer. I do think I'm going to have some Sorsby and Allen. I'm definitely going to have exposure to both of them. The other one I saw in the chat, I got to.
You can also look at Caldwell and Goody too.
Yeah, they're not total nothings either.
So like on which ones they're going to go.
Yeah. Myron pointing out Coleman and Johnson haven't been doing it, been playing Olabude as he's been coming on the last 2 weeks. He has. I think if you're looking to get into the Missouri offense, I don't think that's a bad spot. Generally speaking, I'm not the highest on Missouri in that game, but one of the things I will forever say in DFS is you want a way to win tournaments more consistently, find the chalk and play a guy at the exact same price tag as the chalk, right? And if everybody's going to be playing Brendan Thompson at $3,700, then playing a guy like Olabude at $3,700, nobody's going to play him. He outscores Brendan Thompson. You're instantly up on a lot of the lineups that you're going to be competing against. So I don't mind that shout at all. He has been more of a factor in that Missouri offense as of late.
Yeah, I don't mind that either. Anytime that you don't really feel it on a guy that's chalk like Thompson, I would say don't use him then. Don't even get 10 or 20%. Just, that's the mistake I make is I'm like, fear of missing out. Well, I need to get 10 or 20% just in case he does go off.
Yeah.
Just take a stand. And if it's going to burn you every now and then, so what? I mean, the times that it pays off, it's going to pay off immensely. Just like you 100%. Mentioned. If Thompson gets completely locked down because they've seen him play for 6 years or how many years he's been playing, because he's been at like every school,
right?
Then you're already set right away by fading them.
Yeah, and
I'm trying to pull it up
price tags. Like that's what gets it to me is like you kind of build these lineups. You're competing against all those lineups that have Thompson. All he has to do is outscore him at that point, right? The same exact price tag.
Yeah. So a Thompson against Texas last year, granted they had other receivers, I know that, but he was held to 3 catches for 19 yards.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, Arch Manning started that game. I remember last year. It was an Arch Manning start against Mississippi State. Made me believe because he looked great in that game, and not really believing still, but still holding out a little bit of hope. Hey, if we went out, we can make the college football playoff. So the season's not done yet. All right. So I believe that wraps up for receiver, and we're about to wrap it up here, but we got to talk about your core 4. Like I said earlier, I have not written mine yet. I have not posted mine yet. Zach, you've got your core 4 though. And like I said, I'm in alignment on one of them. We discussed Jeremiah Cobb at length. We discussed Joe Jackson at a pretty good amount of length as well. So you're all in on the Sorsby Royer stack as your QB and wide receiver. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this Baylor offense. I'm a Big 12 guy, so I watch pretty much all the Big 12 games. If there's a game on, I'm watching it. I don't care if Bama's playing or Georgia's playing. Those offenses, whatever. I like to see the points. So I'm watching the Big 12 games. And Baylor has not stopped anybody. And Sorsby, you're averaging 30 DraftKings points a game. And if you look at it, the other guys that are averaging, there's only 4 quarterbacks averaging 30 points a game. They're 9,000, 8,600, 8,400, and then 7,400. What are we doing here? Like, Sorsby demands to get respect. And his only bad game, if you can even call it that, was 19, which is a perfectly fine floor. And so, Hoover had 3 touchdowns, even though Barnes did more that game. Avery Johnson, who's a run-first quarterback, had 340 yards and 2 touchdowns. Even Zane Flores. This is what you got to think about, guys.
This is the craziest one.
How bad Oklahoma State's offense has been. Zane Flores is probably one of the worst quarterbacks in college football. Doesn't even deserve to be playing D1. Had 230 yards and 26 rushing yards. Yeah, so Sorsby's a safe floor. And then like Jackson, I know Myron's hating on me just because of his price, but that's the exact thing is people aren't going to play him just because of the price. But you look at it. Do you want to play 7,800 LJ Martin against a good Iowa State defense? Do you want to play 7,600 Des Roziers against Southern Miss or South Florida with possibly not having their quarterback and in a committee? Hardy, who's been having a couple down games. Washington, who's hurt. Jan Miller hasn't done anything really since coming back. The reason he's priced up is because there's no like Bryson Washington's not healthy. If he was healthy, he'd be 9,000. We'd have that 9,000 running back.
I think that once people start building, Jackson might come a little higher owned than what we're currently seeing because, like you said, there's nowhere else to spend it. But when you compare him to the other high-priced running backs, again, I think you have to kind of look at this slate in a vacuum. Don't think about it compared to other slates. If you look at this slate in a vacuum, I think he's the best high-priced running back on this slate. Now, granted, like I said, I don't know if he's going to make my core just yet, but I totally see the vision in having him as a core. And the other one you got in here, Joe Royer. We already mentioned him, stacking partner with Brendan Sorsby, super consistent. I did want to get to one more comment before we close it out, though. Black Suit saying ETR has Jamal Edrine as the Meta Chalk wide receiver at 3.7K. They have Thompson a lot lower owned. So I think I figured out why that's the case. I think ETR is quick to the draw here. Cam Ross is out. So if Cam Ross is out, that is going to bring more targets by way of Jamal Edrine. That is going to definitely bring more ownership his way. I think ETR is probably first to that, as opposed to some of these other sites that we're looking at might not have Cam Ross as out yet, might not have adjusted the projections and the ownership yet. So I totally do get why Edrine would show up as the chalk wide receiver. And maybe by the time we're making lineups tomorrow night or Saturday morning, you might have a totally different 3.7K wide receiver. You never know. But right now, I do get why Edrine's up there.
I actually think both are probably going to be chalk. And the reason I think that is just because, like Myron's saying, I don't want to pay that price for Jackson. So what people are going to be doing is they're throwing in these cheap receivers and they're paying up by both quarterbacks, is my opinion on that. I think that's why it's driving the ownership there. Because people are like, well, I'm just going to pay money for quarterbacks so I can get my safe guy.
Yeah.
I think that's why. Because RG does have Edrine right there with Thompson. They're projected both to be the highest point per dollar as of right now. They don't have ownership. They don't get ownership until Friday night. So
I'm seeing him as the 4th best points per dollar play. Isaiah Satania's in there, of course.
Yeah,
I'm not getting to that one. I'm out on this Oklahoma offense until John Mateer looks like he has a human hand.
Yeah,
if he shows up looking like the Terminator again, I'm out.
The thing with North Carolina, and I get why Edrine's going to be popular, but some of these games like Clemson, none of the guys got there other than Randall because he had 2 long catches. Because they're just blowing out North Carolina because they're so bad. They're blowing them out in the first half. I mean, it was 28-3 in the first quarter whenever they played Clemson. And so I would kind of still rather just play Taylor because they're going to be running the ball. And he also, that could be an argument too with Ross out, the best receiver. Let's, chuck it down to our running back here.
And, if everybody's playing Edrine, one way to get leverage would be to play Taylor. Because if Edrine is not scoring, running game is going to be scoring because let's be honest, Carolina ain't stopping both components. They're not totally blanking Virginia in this game.
Yeah, and that's what one thing I will say is I think for this slate, I think you got to get at least one exposure. This is personally in cash lineups, anyways. Somebody from Baylor, somebody from Cincinnati, somebody from Virginia, somebody from Kansas State. Not sure about Kansas on the cash.
I was going to say that's 4.
And then probably somebody from. Well, see, that's the thing with South Florida. If I'm not playing the quarterback, I'm just none of those guys are just really standing out to me to want to play in my. I'm talking about cash lineups only.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't mention Auburn in there.
Oh yeah, Auburn too. Yeah,
yeah. I think the Auburn skill players are a great way to attack that game. But anyway, I think we about covered pretty much everything.
I'm just waiting to see if anybody else got some more questions here.
Yeah, I'm seeing anything pops up. We're talking about the Virginia UNC game. Yeah, I don't see UNC scoring a lot of points. That's for darn sure. Now,
I will just say a couple more guys for cheap receivers. Titus Mokia Atiamala. I'm not
UCLA.
sure. Yeah. If you want to go there, I mean, they're going to be passing a lot. He's almost min price. Just hoping he gets a touchdown. Bowden Green, I'm not really sure what to think with that with Kansas because all of a sudden he exploded against Tech and had a buttload of catches.
Touchdown or bust to me. I don't.
But other games he hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
So, it's just a couple other guys just to throw out there for some cheap guys.
Is that Gadsden that just scored for the Chargers? I hope it was. I got him as captain in Showdown a ton tonight.
Let's see.
Who's 9? Turn around, buddy. I need to see your last name. Oh, well. Oh, Trey Harris. Dang it. Not Gaston. All right. Anyway, let's go ahead and start to wrap this thing up. So, Darren, we're kind of gotten like a weekly tradition here, right? The adventures in coaching for both of us. So, Zach, I know we were live last Friday night because you had a game Thursday night, right?
Yeah.
So your next game is tomorrow night now, right?
Yeah, and it's actually going to be senior night, even though we have another home game next week. I don't know why they picked this one and not the last one, but whatever. It's probably there are 2 of the 3 games that we have a chance to win that we have left on the schedule. And in our district, you have to win at least 2 games. And then, I think this is the dumbest thing ever. But so with Texas, if you have a tie, what they do is it's based on points. And so like if you lost we lost 55-7 last week. So we're minus 15 points. 15 is the max. And so it's not just about winning those 2 games. It's how much do you beat those guys by to affect the whole point thing. And so you could win 2 games and still miss the playoffs because you're tied with the 4th place team and they also have 2 wins. But I'm actually kind of hoping that we don't make the playoffs, sad as it is to say, because we'd be playing a team that has been blowing everybody out and is undefeated in the first round. And it would not be pretty.
It's I've been there before. It's kind of a miserable experience to be one of the last teams in the playoffs. Like there's that simultaneous the last game of the season, we got in, we made it to the playoffs, and then oh crap. Just that, oh dang it. Like we really got to drive 3 hours to get for this. Like I've been there, and as hard as you can try to talk yourself in your mind into we have a chance, this is we got a shot. Sometimes you don't. And that part kind of sucks.
Yeah, and the weather's going to be weird, which would be in our advantage for us because
for our option team, of course.
Because all we do is run. We had a game 2 weeks ago where we did not throw a single pass, and run for over 300 yards.
Yeah.
So that would help us because they'll still run, but they definitely teams have been beating us on the pass, not on the run.
So Darren says you aren't giving the Gene Hackman speech. That's funny. Like from the movie The Replacements, right? I think that's what he's referring to. That's one of my favorite football movies. The replacements with Keanu Reeves is Shane Falco, and you got the Irish kicker, and just great football movie. I believe it's still on Netflix if you've not seen The Replacements. So, Hoosiers. Okay. Yeah. Another iconic Gene Hackman movie. Holy crap. There's like multiple movies where Gene Hackman is a coach. That's kind of ironic. Is there any other actor where there's like multiple movies where that guy's a coach? I'm trying to think of one. Maybe not. Al Pacino, maybe. Oh, that's Any Given Sunday though. I know that one. Our high school coach when I was in high school had us watch that speech before we played a big rivalry game. Did not work in our favor. We lost 30-0. But he tried. Anyway, so Darren's got the Texas high school tackle football update. I've got to give the North Carolina girls flag football update that I've been coaching, right? So last Saturday, we played 2 games that were not good for us, right? So there's a whole lot of like discussion about the rules and regulations for girls flag football because it's a brand new sport. And so we were hosting an event, and our AD did not want to open up 2 fields. He just wanted to have everything in the stadium. But we had 4 teams coming, playing 2 games simultaneously. So we had to set up these smaller fields on a normal game field that was half the size. And our team is entirely predicated on speed. And so we just didn't have the speed we didn't have the space to get to the edge and break off explosive plays. And we also had some uncharacteristic mistakes like false starts and drop snaps. And so we dropped both games last Saturday. But we come out and we play Tuesday, right? And first off, we learned there's an entirely different rule set when we get there, which as a coach is like stressful AF, right? Like, okay, y'all, here's how we're redesigning our entire offense, and we're going to do this, and it's going to work, right? So we did, right? And I also learned my quarterback has a lot of swag. I learned this Tuesday night, right? So I'm going to try to be like as clean as possible saying this, right? So my team it's a lot of girly girls, right? It's a bunch of girls that play soccer, that play lacrosse, that run track, like they're other sport athletes. I don't have a whole lot of like burly, manly looking girls, if that makes sense. And some of these other teams do, right? And so we're walking into the stadium, which is one of our rivals, one of our huge rivals. And they actually have a student section there for this flag football game, which I thought was super cool. But we're walking in, and this kid from the student section yells after our team. He says, "Oh, they don't got no lesbians. That's a free win." and my quarterback hears that, turns around, and she blows him a kiss. And I told her, I said, he's going to be giving it to you the whole game now because of that, right? And she's like, "I don't care. We're winning." And so sure enough, it comes down. We have the ball. We're down 7-6 with about 5 minutes to go. And she throws a beautiful post route that just barely gets past a safety. Girl scores. We go up 12-7. I did not realize this until I went back and rewatched the film. She throws that touchdown and then turns to the student section and blows another kiss. And I'm like, that's like some Johnny Manziel type stuff, or like Diego Pavia type stuff, right? Like that just requires some swag to do. So I thought that was really cool, really fun. Definitely fun to be a part of. Yeah, Darren in the chat saying Joe Namath, Baker Mayfield. Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison as well. So that was fun. So now we've got 2 more games on Saturday, and it's conference play starting. So sitting at 4-2, hopefully we can get to 6-2 and just keep this thing rolling. But we'll see how it goes from there. I'm going to be at the mercy of setting my lineups on Friday night now while these games are going on Saturday. But hey, that's okay. I can deal with that. Last Saturday I had not Justice. What's the Michigan's running back? Not Justice Haynes, the other guy.
Jordan Marshall.
Yeah, I had Marshall in like all my lineups when I set it on Friday night because I thought Haynes was going to be out, right? And Haynes is in. I don't change it. Marshall still goes off, but yet my lineup still sucked. So, we'll figure it out. But hey, definitely a fun sport to coach and keep going. Darren, at least it wasn't a Baker crotch grab. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done if she'd done that. I don't know. I would not have known. like, do you sit her down? Do you I don't know. I don't think there's don't think there was a high likelihood of a girl doing that, fortunately. All right. So that is going to close us out here. Zach, what's your general vibe for this week 9 slate? You think it's going to be a good one?
There's a few games I like, but overall, I was like, this kind of ugly slate from first looking at it. Just because there's good games like, real world wise, like Ole Miss and OU, Missouri, Vandy. But those aren't great for our fantasy purposes.
Oh, yeah. And I think that it lacks star power this week. So you're not just going to be able to click in Love, click in Makai Lemon, click in Jeremiah Smith, right? Like, I think this is kind of a slate that benefits you to have more knowledge of these guys because you can't just click in all the stars. So I hope that's going to be the case, and I hope that there is a knowledge gap at play here.
Yeah, I feel like the ones that don't have those auto clicks like Love and Lemon and stuff, that it's more geared to the guys that actually dig down and research. And hopefully that's right.
Yeah. And I think Black Suit and Darren, y'all hit the nail on the head, man. The Sunday with all the buys and all the primetime games, the Sunday NFL slate is already looking ugly. And yeah, Rico Dowdle has looked a lot better than Chuba Hubbard, and I have Rico Dowdle in multiple fantasy leagues season long. So I hope that they do end up going with Rico, but we'll see. Anyway, that's going to do it here for us, y'all. Hopefully we're able to give you guys all the information you need to build some of these winning lineups, right? Remember, if you want access to the sheet that we were looking at all episode, go check him out on Zach's Twitter at Big Country DFS, also in his Discord as well as the Fantasy Corner Discord, which I am a member of. Also, if you want access to those, go get them. They're free. They're totally free. Great to use. Great to keep track of your thoughts as you're building multiple lineups. And yeah, I believe that's going to do it for us here, y'all. I feel like there was something else I was supposed to mention, but I feel like we're good, right?
Yeah, I don't think of anything else.
All right, maybe my mind's playing tricks on me. But anyway, that's going to do it here for us, guys. Thank you guys for watching and listening to us at this point, tuning in live here on a Thursday night. Best of luck to you guys on the Saturday main slate, and we will catch you guys next week.
Thank you.